characteristic like the law of sale, okay? Yeah, so the first thing they want you to know about the hire purchase, the nature of the hire purchase contract, nature of hire purchase contract. Then number two, they also want you to know about what? Parties in this hire purchase contract. And then they also need you to know about formation of hire purchase contract, formation of hire purchase contract. Then lastly, protection of hirer, And then they will also look at the right and duties of the party, right and duties of the party, right and duties of the parties, right and duties of the parties, right and duties of the party. And lastly, check on termination of this contract, termination of this contract. So that's all about you are required to know about the hire purchase contract. That's all we are required to know about the hire purchase contract. So what is hire purchase? What is hire purchase? Yes? What is hire purchase? Si ushanunua kitu kwa hire purchase ama? Or have you ever heard that someone bought something on hire purchase? Yeah, what did he mean when he said that I bought this thing on hire purchase? Yes? Hire purchase, what is hire purchase? Sema hiyo kitu iko kwa roho unataka kutamka na inakwama. Yes? Haya, kama hujui andika, They say the law relating to the hire purchase in Kenya, the law relating to the hire purchase in Kenya is obtained in the Hire Purchase Act, Cap 0505, Hire Purchase Act, Cap 507, which was enacted in 1968. And we are saying the law relating to hire purchase in Kenya was obtained in Hire Purchase Act Cap 507, which was enacted in 1968 and was a consequence of a private member bill, and was a consequence of a private member bill. So it's a contract by which owner of goods, transfer possession to another person known as hirer. Transfer possession to another person known as hirer. For an agreed periodical payment, we are saying it is a contract by which owner of good transfer possession to another person known as hirer for an agreed periodical payment. And on condition that hirer may return the goods. So parties to the hire purchase contract, parties to the hire purchase contract, parties to the hire purchase contract, parties to the hire purchase contract. Number one, we have owner. Owner. You say it's a person who lets the goods under hire purchase agreement. Owner is a person who lets the goods under hire purchase agreement. Owner is a person who lets the goods under hire purchase agreement. Number two is hirer. Number two is hirer. Number one is owner. Number two is hirer. Hirer. Is the person who has taken good from the owner under hire purchase agreement. It's a person who has taken good from the owner under hire purchase agreement. Nature of the hire purchase agreement. Nature. Number one, hire purchase agreement is an agreement of payment of goods, under which the bailee may buy the goods, under which the bailee may buy the goods, under which the bailee may buy the good. The bailee is the same as the hirer, okay? The bailee is the same as the hirer. Number two, it must be in writing. Number two, it must be in writing. It must be in writing. Number three, the hire purchase agreement must be registered by the Hire Purchase Act. The hire purchase agreement must be registered by the Hire Purchase Act within 30 days of executing the document. The hire purchase agreement must be registered with the Hire Purchase Act within 30 days of executing the document. Number four, the property in good passes to the hirer when he pays hire purchase price in full. The property of good passes to the hirer when he pays hire purchase price in full. When he pays hire purchase price in full. When he pays hire purchase price in full. And lastly, we are talking about the hirer pays the last installment. The hirer, before paying the last installment, and the couple before, the hirer before paying the last installment, he cannot pass a good title to an innocent purchaser. The hirer before passing the last installment cannot pass a good title to an innocent purchaser. The hirer before paying the last installment, he cannot pass a good title to an innocent purchaser. Then for you to understand better what a hire purchase is, let's look at the difference between hire purchase and conditional hire. Difference between ipande unaandika hire purchase On the other side, you write conditional sale. Conditional sale. Conditional sale. So number one, hire purchase is a contract of bailment. Hire purchase is a contract of bailment. On the other side, conditional sale is a contract of sale. It's a contract of sale. Number two, on a hire purchase is a contract whereby owner of goods transfer possession to the hirer. It's a contract whereby owner of good transfer possession to the hirer or return the good, Transfer possession to the hirer or return the goods. On the other side, it's a contract where it's a contract of sale of goods. It's a contract of sale of goods whereby purchase is payable by installment, Number three, property passes to the hirer when he pays in full. Property passes to the hirer when he pays in full. On the other side, property in good passes to the buyer when he fulfills the condition. Property of good passes to the buyer when he fulfills the condition. Number four, parties include the hirer and owner. On the other side, parties include the hirer and owner. On the other side, parties include buyer and owner. Parties include buyer and owner. And the last one, hirer cannot pass a good title until payment of the last installment. Hirer cannot pass the good title until payment of the last installment. On the other side, buyer can pass a good title. To a third party. Buyer can pass a good title to a third party. So that was the hire purchase act and the credit conditional sale, okay? And conditional sale. Then also, for us to understand better, we can also look at the difference between hire purchase and also we have credit sale. Hire purchase and credit sale. We also have the difference between hire purchase and credit sale. So the same structure, we start number one. Number one on hire purchase. It's a contract where owner of good passes possession to the hirer. It's a contract where owner of good passes possession to the hirer for an agreed periodical payment. It is a contract where owner of the good passes possession to the hirer for an agreed periodical payment. On the other side, credit sale, it's a contract of sale of good where purchase price is payable in more than one installment, It's a contract of sale of good where purchase price is payable in more than one installment, Number two, it's a contract of bailment. On the other side, it's a contract of sale of good. Number three, it's regulated by the Hire Purchase Act, HPA. Regulated by the Hire Purchase Act, Cap 547. The other side is regulated by Sale Act, Cap 31. Cap 31. The other side, property in good passes when hirer paid the last installment. Property in good passes when hirer pays the last installment. Property in good passes when the buyer pays his first installment. The last one, hirer cannot pass a good title to an innocent third party until he pays last installment. Hirer cannot pass a good title to an innocent third party until he pays last installment. On the other part, buyer can pass a good title when he pays first installment. Nasema number 5, hirer cannot pass a good title to an innocent third party until he pays last installment. Then buyer can pass, on the other side, buyer can pass a good title when he paid the first installment, Let's also check on formation of the hire purchase contract. So those two are the ones just to help you to understand how hire purchase contract operates, okay? So you can now be able to elaborate whenever you are asked about hire purchase, or if you ask about differences, unaweza peana hizo. Formation of the hire purchase contract. You say it is formed in 3 stages. It is formed in 3 stages. Number 1 is the agreement. Number 2, the form. Number 3, registration. We start with number 1, the agreement. The agreement, you say, hire purchase agreement involves 2 parties. Hirer and owner. Hirer must be informed cash price. Hirer must be informed cash price. Hirer must be informed cash price. However, hirer might not be shown cash price if hirer might not be shown cash price if Roman 1 if Roman 1 the prospective hirer has inspected the good with price tag. The prospective hirer has inspected the good with price tag. Roman 2, the prospective hirer selects the good by referring to a catalog with cash price. The prospective hirer selects the good by referring to the catalog with cash price. Catalog with cash price. The prospective hirer selects the good by referring to the catalog with cash price. Then Roman 2, the form. Roman 2, the form. The form, you say, it's a formal document or memorandum. It is a formal document or memorandum signed by hirer and owner. It's a formal document or memorandum signed by hirer and owner. It contains the following detail. Contain the following detail. Number 1, description of parties to identify them. Description of parties to identify them. Number 2, description of good to identify it. Description of good. Number 3, the cash and the hire purchase price. The cash and the hire purchase price. The number of installment, amount, and when payable. The number of installment, amount, and when payable. Number 5, the signature of the parties. Number 6, the right of the hirer. The right, the hirer. The right of the hirer. The right of the hirer. The right of the hirer. Then number 3, registration. Number 3. Number 3, registration. Number 3, registration. Registration. Number 3, registration. So you say, hire purchase agreement must be registered with the registrar of the hire purchase. Hire purchase agreement must be registered with the registrar of hire purchase within 30 days of execution. Hire purchase agreement must be registered with the Register of Hire Purchase within 30 days of execution. The registrar, however, may reject the agreement if Roman 1, the agreement is presented to him or her after that 30 days. The agreement is presented to him or her after 30 days. Roman 2, it is not in English language. It is not in English language. It's not in English language. Roman 3, the stamp duty and registration fee payable has not been paid. The stamp duty and the registration fee payable has not been paid. NB, upon registration, registrar issue a certificate of registration. Which is prima facie, into bracket proof, which is prima facie into bracket proof, evidence of its content, which is prima facie, evidence of its content. Evidence of its content, prima facie evidence of its content. Effect of non-registration. Number 1, the hire purchase agreement is non-enforceable by any person against hirer. The hire purchase agreement is non-enforceable by any person against the hirer. Number 2, any contract of guarantee made in relation to the hire purchase agreement is not enforceable. Any contract of guarantee made in relation to the hire purchase agreement is not enforceable. Number 3, the owner is not entitled to enforce his right to recover goods from hirer. The owner is not supposed to enforce his right to recover goods from the hirer. Number 4, any security given by hirer under the hire purchase agreement, or by guarantee is not enforceable. It's not enforceable. Any security given by hirer under the hire purchase agreement or by guarantee is not enforceable. It's not enforceable. It's not enforceable. Protection of hirer. Protection of hirer. Protection of hirer. Hirer is protected by the following ways. Hirer is protected by the following way. Number one, have content of hire purchase agreement to bracket void provision. Number two, implied term. Repossession of the good. Number three, possession of the goods. Those are the three ways in which hirer might be protected. Those are the three ways in which hirer might be protected. Those are three ways in which hirer might be protected. In which way might be protected? So start with the number one, content of hire purchase agreement into bracket void provision. Void provision, void provision. So you are learning about contract. What do you say the meaning of the word void? Yes? Void, we said it means what? It is illegal. It is illegal. So illegal provision in hire purchase contract. Number one, a provision to the effect that any person may enter upon any premises. A provision to the effect that any person may enter any premises of hirer to repossess the goods let under hire purchase agreement. A provision to the effect that any person may enter upon any premises of the hirer, repossess the good let under a hire purchase agreement. Let under a hire purchase agreement. Irudie. Nasema provision to the effect that any person may enter upon any premises of the hirer, repossess the good let under the hire purchase agreement. Number two, a provision which relieve owner, from liability, a provision which relieve owner from liability or such entry, a provision which restricts or exclude hirer right to terminate hire purchase agreement. A provision which relieve the owner from liability or such entry, a provision which restrict or exclude the hirer right to terminate the hire purchase agreement. Or such entry, a provision which restrict or exclude the hirer right to terminate hire purchase agreement. Number 3. Uko kwa giza uoni? Ufunulie. Number 3. A provision which imposes greater liability on hirer. A provision which imposes greater liability on hirer. Greater liability on hirer for terminating the agreement that is imposed by Hire Purchase Act. A provision which imposes greater liability on hirer for terminating the agreement that is imposed by Hire Purchase Act. Number 4. A provision which treats agent of owner in relation to the agreement as agent of hirer. Provision which treats agent of owner in relation to the agreement as an agent of hirer. In relation to the agreement as an agent of hirer. Number 5. A provision which relieves the owner from liability to act as its agent. A provision which relieves owner from liability to act as its agent. To act as its agent. To act as its agent. Then Roman 2, implied term. Nini lea? Yes? A provision which relieves the owner from liability to act as its agent. To act as its agent. Roman 2, implied term. When we are looking at sale, we said we have implied term, and implied term is divided into 2. We have condition and we have warrant. We have condition and we have warrant. So condition are which and which? Yes, tuanzie huko nyuma. Condition of implied term of a sale, number 1. Yes? Yeah, sema na nguvu. Number 1? Yes? Hamjaanza kusoma ama mjafika hapo? Yes? 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 Ama huko kwa klasi ya sale? Number 1 is right to sell. Number 2, lea tuko kwako, tafuta na nguvu na useme. Number 2, amesema right to sell. Number 2, implied condition of a sale. Number 2 is Lucy. Diana. Yes. Au kwa klasi ya sale. Hamjui condition, na hizo ndio vitu rahisi, hizo ndio vitu zitakuja kwa mtihani. Condition and warrant. Warrant tulisema ni 2. Condition ni 5. We have right to sell, imesemwa ya kwanza. Number 2. Yes. Sell by sample. Number 3. Correspond description. Number 4. Fitness for the purpose. Number 5. Mechanized quality. Mechanized quality. A warrant. Number 1. Number 1 is quiet enjoyment. Then another one is free from charges. Free from charges. So kama ino ukumbuke. So it's the same. You write, you say Hire Purchase Act contain implied condition applied in the Hire Purchase Agreement. Hire Purchase Act contain implied conditions applied in the Hire Purchase Agreement. Hire Purchase Act contain implied condition applied in Hire Purchase Agreement. So Roman 1 anza na warrants. Roman 1 anza na warrants. Roman 1 anza na warrants. A, quiet possession. Quiet possession. Tumesema implied terms, then tukasema Roman 1 anza na warrant. So number 1 is quiet possession. Quiet possession. Yeah? White. Tushaisema kitu kama white. Can you possess white? So quiet possession, quiet possession, quiet possession. You say there is an implied warrant that hirer shall have and enjoy quiet possession. There is an implied warrant that hirer shall have and enjoy quiet possession of the good let under HPA or Hire Purchase Agreement. Number B, free from charges or encumbrance. Free from charges or encumbrance. Free from charges or encumbrance. It implies that good shall be free from any charge. It is implied that good shall be free from any charge or encumbrance in favor of a third party when property is passed. There is an it is implied that goods shall be free from charges or encumbrance in favor of a third party when property is passed. Then number 2, conditions. Conditions. Right to sell. Condition A, right to sell. It is implied that owner has right to sell the good when property is passed. It is implied that owner has right to sell the good when property is passed. Number 2, fitness for the purpose. Fitness for the purpose. You say it is implied that good let and hire purchase contract will reasonably fit the purpose of the buyer. This implies that good let and hire purchase will reasonably fit the purpose of the buyer. This implies that good let and hire purchase will reasonably fit the purpose of the buyer. Number C, mercantile quality. Mercantile quality. You say, unless the goods are second-hand, and the contract provides so. Unless the goods are second-hand and contract provides so, There is an implied condition that good will be of mechanized quality unless the goods are second-hand and contract provides so. There is an implied condition that goods will be of mechanized quality. Then number 4, or number D, a condition may be implied by any other law. A condition may be implied by any other law. Condition may be implied by any other law. Then number 3, repossession. Repossession of goods. Repossession of goods. Roman 3. Possession of goods. So remember, we are looking at the hirer protection, the way hirer is protected in the hire purchase agreement, the way hirer is protected in the hire purchase agreement. Number 1, we said the content of the Hire Purchase Act, which provides the void provision, okay? Number 2, we are checking on the implied term of a sale. I've checked on condition and warrant. Then number 3, we are checking on how repossession of goods can also protect a hirer. Repossession of goods can also protect a hirer. We say under subsection 15, under subsection 15(1) of Hire Purchase Act, under subsection 15 into bracket 1 of Hire Purchase Act, if hirer has paid 2/3 of the hire purchase price, if hirer has paid 2/3 of the hire purchase price, the owner cannot repossess the goods. The owner cannot repossess the goods unless by court order, unless by court order, unless by court order. If the owner repossesses the goods, if the owner repossesses the goods, contrary to the above provision, if the owner repossesses the good contrary to the above provision, the following consequence will apply. If owner repossesses the good contrary to the above provision, the following consequence will apply. Command 1, the hire purchase agreement is terminated. The hire purchase agreement is terminated. The hire purchase agreement is terminated. Command 2, the hirer is discharged from any liability under the agreement. The hirer is discharged from any liability under the agreement. Roman 3, the hirer is entitled to recover all the installment paid by the court action. The hirer is entitled to recover all the installment paid by the court action. The hirer is entitled to recover all the installment paid by the court action. And lastly, any security given under the hire purchase agreement, any security given under the hire purchase agreement or contract of guarantee is recoverable by the court action. It's recoverable by the court action. Another point. However, the protection afforded by subsection 15(1) is more apparent than real. The protection afforded by subsection 15(1) is more apparent than real. Is more apparent than real in that Roman 1, the hirer must pay too much to enjoy the protection. They are saying the protection, however, the protection afforded by subsection 15(1) is more apparent than real, in that Roman 1, the hirer must pay too much to enjoy the protection. The hirer must pay too much to enjoy the protection. Roman 2, the property in good due, dues not to pay to the hirer, The property in good, dues not to pay to the hirer. And the last one, the owner may still repossess the good if court orders so. The owner may still repossess the good if court ordered so. Duty to pay installment. Duties of a hirer, number 1, duty to pay installment. Duty to pay installment as and when they are due. Number 2, duty to continue hiring the good. Duty, continue. Right of hirer, number 1, right to sue for damage. In case owner breach. Right to terminate the contract. Number 3, Right to complete. Those are the right of hirer. Those are the right of hirer. Also check on the right of owner. Right and duties of owner. Those are right hand duties of each party. Those are right hand duties of each party. Those are right hand duties of each party. Those are right and duties of each party. Those are right and duties of each party. So the owner and the hirer, the owner and the hirer. So wangapi hapo wako na MGAS? Hiyo Safaricom. Wangapi wamehire MGAS? Ya tuseme hivyo. Kama nyinyi watu wa Progas ama Kgas. Yeah, if you hire that MGAS, even if just you change your house from this place to the other side without informing them, watakuja kurepossess hiyo kasi yao because watasema unataka kutoroka na mtungi yetu. So that's also what happened in hire purchase. Whenever you change address or location, you must notify the owner of the property. Whenever you change address or the location, you must notify the owner of the property. So I think those things are self-explanatory. Let's look at now termination. Termination of hire purchase contract. Termination of hire purchase contract or agreement. So rules of termination. Termination of the hire purchase agreement or contract. Rules. Mnajikokota aje kuandika. Number one, rules number one, they're saying, hirer may at any time before final installment falls due. Hirer may at any time before final installment falls due. That's the first rule. He can fall due, then he terminates the contract. Number two, in case hirer terminate hire purchase, in case hirer terminate hire purchase agreement, he must return good at his own expense. In case hirer terminate hire purchase agreement, he must return good at his own expense. Number three, hirer must give owner notice of termination. Hirer must give owner notice of termination. Number four, any expense incurred is recoverable from the owner. Any expense incurred is recoverable from the owner. Any expense incurred is recoverable from the owner. That's why we said number five, under duties, duty to indemnify or compensate hirer for the loss, any loss due to defect, okay? Yeah, that's another rule there. Then number five, if hirer hasn't taken reasonable care of good, he's liable for damage. If hirer hasn't taken reasonable care for good, he's liable for damage. He's liable for damage. If hirer hasn't taken reasonable care of good, is liable for damage. Number six, if hirer terminate hire purchase agreement, if hirer terminate hire purchase agreement, he is liable to pay all installments. He is liable to pay all installments to the date of termination, to the date of termination, the date of termination. Is liable to pay all installments to the date of termination. Then number seven, the last one. Upon termination, a minimum payment or a depreciation clause come into force upon termination, a minimum payment or a depreciation clause come into force, comma, hirer is bound to pay, depreciation clause come into force, comma, hirer is bound to pay, Roman 1, all installment to the date of termination. Hirer is bound to pay, Roman 1, all installment to the date of termination. Number 2, half of the hire purchase price, exceeds the total amount paid by hirer. Half of the hire purchase price exceeds the total amount paid by the hirer, or lesser amount as agreement may specify. Or lesser amount as agreement may specify. So tunasema kama alikuwa amechukua analipa hii ni Januari na hii kitu anafaa kumaliza Disemba, then ifike hapa katikati mwezi wa 6, June, ndiye alemewa hataki kuendelea na contract. Is that okay? So the amount that he has paid between this period, half of it ndiye anafaa kurudishiwa, half of it ndiye anafaa kufanya nini? Kurudishiwa, half anaacha hapo na hiyo nini. That's what we mean that depreciation clause. Umeelewa? Tumesema half of hire purchase price exceeds the total amount paid by hirer. Half of the hire purchase price exceed the total amount paid by the hirer, or such lesser amount as agreement may specify. Completion of the hire purchase. Completion of hire purchase price. Rules. Completion of the hire purchase price. Rules. Number 1, hirer has a right to complete the hire purchase agreement. Hirer has a right to complete the hire purchase agreement. Number 2, hirer must notify owner his intention to complete purchase. Hirer must notify owner his intention to complete purchase on a specified date and become obliged to do so. Hirer must notify owner his intention to complete purchase on a specified date, and he become obliged to do so. Number 3, the last one. Hirer right to complete that agreement is exercisable when? Hirer right to complete that agreement is exercisable when? Roman 1, during the subsistence of the hire purchase agreement. During the subsistence of the hire purchase agreement. Then Roman 2, within 28 days of repossession of good. Within 28 days of repossession of good. Within 28 days of repossession of good, which he will pay a reasonable repossession, comma, which he will pay within 28 days of repossession of good in which he will pay reasonable repossession, comma, repair, storage, and maintenance amount due, and maintenance amount due, and maintenance amount due. Within 28 days of repossession of good, in which you will pay a reasonable repossession, comma, repair, storage, and maintenance fee, or maintenance amount due, maintenance amount due, maintenance amount due. That becomes the end of that topic. That becomes the end of that topic. Surely, any question? Any question concerning hire purchase? Yeah, that becomes the end of that topic. So I wanted us to check on another topic, lakini naona masaa imeenda. And just check the general question concerning sales and hire purchase contract, okay? So, question concerning sales, najua hapa tu kuangalia, we were doing the cut, we never looked at them, okay? Yes, swali. So we check on number 1 and check May 2021, question 2B. Question 2B on sale of goods, you are told, Lillian Pendo walked into a pharmacy and asked Cassandra Kinga, the pharmacist, to supply her with medication that could cure her sore throat. Lillian Pendo walked into a pharmacy and asked Cassandra Kinga, the pharmacist, to supply her with medication that could cure her throat. Required. Describe 5 terms that are implied by law on the transaction above. Describe 5 terms that are implied by law on the transaction above. Describe 5 terms that are implied by law on the transaction above. So terms that are implied, we have number 1 is, yes? So kama hukusoma implied term kwa sale, umesoma implied term kwa hire purchase. So niambie, terms that are implied, we said we have implied term. We are doing May 2021. May 2021, question what? Question 2B. Question 2B. Implied term. So we said implied term is divided into 2. We have condition. We have condition and we have warrant. We have warrants. So condition are 5. Number 1, we said we have right to sell. Right to sell. Number 2, description, correspond description. Correspond description. Number 3, fitness for the purpose. Fitness for the purpose. Number 4, mercantile quality. Mercantile quality. Mercantile quality. And then last one is sell by sample. Sell by sample. Sell by a sample, whereby the buyer will be given chances to compare the good. Then hapa tuko na 2, quiet possession. Quiet possession. And also we have free from any charge. Free from any charge. Free from any charge. So those are the one you are supposed to explain there. Those are the one you are supposed to explain. So if Lilian Pendo akipewa hiyo ni, it implies that he has right to sell that medicine, okay? Then the medicine must correspond the description that she wanted. Then it must also be fitness for the purpose. The purpose here was to do what? What was the purpose? Kwa hiyo swali, ama hatuko pamoja? Mnakaa dali aje ni kama mko class. What was the purpose of that request? Yeah, to cure threat sore, to cure threat sore. So it must that will fill that purpose. Then the medicine will be of mechanized quality. You are supposed to explain. Then summarize for exemption of doctrine of cavita emptor. Exemption of doctrine of cavita emptor. Cavita emptor. Cavita emptor tulisema inamaanisha nini? Yes? Sell by? Yes. Cavita emptor tulisema inamaanisha nini? Buyers be aware. Buyers be aware. Buyers be aware. So exemption tulisema there are 4, okay? Exemption tulisema there are this implied term. There are this implied term. So if you go to buy something, then whereby there was the description of that thing that you are going to buy, you mean that that thing will not be of defective, or it will not be of the certain type, but will be of that description, okay? Then mechanized quality, also the thing you are going to buy will be of the same quality that you are shown. Is that okay? And then we also said whereby there was sell by sample, that thing will be given the chance to compare if it responds to the sample that you are shown, okay? So those are the exemption of cavita emptor. Those are the exemption of cavita emptor. Another question, it is November 2020. In November 2020, question 1A and B. Generally, there is no implied condition to fitness for any as purpose of goods supplied. Outline for exemption to the pill rule above. So exemption to the rule of the fitness for the purpose. Exemption. Ni gani na gani? Where now fitness for the purpose cannot be applied. Hiyo fikiria umefanya law na umefanya ni so apply. What are the exemption of fitness for the purpose? Number 1. Number 1. Ukienda kwa duka, uchague unataka hiyo kitu, mimi nataka hiyo na upewe na ulipe. Can you return that it does not fit the purpose you wanted? Unaweza rudisha? Yes? So kwa wale wana hii kitabu unaweza andika where the buyer expressly implied to make known, where the buyer expressly implied to make known to the seller, where the buyer expressly or implied make known to the seller the particular purpose for which the buyer wants them. Then number 2, mnaandika ama nisome tu? Are you writing? Number 2, where the buyer relies on the seller's skill or judgment when buying the good. Where the buyer relies on the seller's skill or judgment when buying the good. Umeenda kwa duka kununua dawa, alafu huyu anakuambia hii dawa, hii sio mzuri, chukua hii, chukua hii. So fitness for the purpose will not apply in such case, okay? Number 3, we are talking about where the goods are of kind which the seller deals with or supplies in the ordinary course of the business. Where the goods are of kind which the seller deals with or supplies in the ordinary business. Yeah, kama huyu unajua huyu anauzanga sufuria. Huyu anauzanga sufuria. Wewe umeenda kwake unataka sufuria na ukanunua ukaenda. So you cannot return there that hiyo sufuria ifiti purpose ulitaka. Is that okay? You cannot return it there. Then another one, misrepresentation on the part of the seller. Misrepresentation on the part of the seller. Yeah, hapo hivyo pia you cannot return that for the purpose of, cannot return there for the purpose of what? Of the fitness for the purpose. Then another question concerning sale, November 2019, question 2B. In relation to the sale, outline 4 circumstances where buyer might reject the good and repudiate the contract. Where buyer might reject the good and repudiate the contract. Hizo tulisema ni wapi? Number 1. Yeah, if the seller delivers more good, the buyer can reject the contract. Number 2, Lucy, uko wapi? Number 2. Number 2, can see online student wanna participate. Yeah, when good are of mixed description. Another one, when good are of mixed description. Another one, yeah, less than the one that have been ordered. Another one, where the buyer can reject the good. Yes. When the good are not of the description that he requested. Hiyo pia unataka kufikiria sana na bado iko kwa ubao. Haya, kuna hapa situation question ambazo nilikuwa nawaambia tunataka kuangalia hizo 3, tuangalie moja ya hire purchase. I think masaa ya lunch itakuwa imefika. Naambiwa hapa November 2018 question 6B. Tom Obonyo wrote to Jerry Katana offering to sell his car at shilling 500,000. Jerry Katana accepted Tom Obonyo offer to the price being reduced at shilling 450. It became apparent that Tom Obonyo is not willing to sell the car at shilling 450. Jerry Katana now writes to Tom Obonyo agreeing to buy the car at shilling 500, but Tom Obonyo responded that he already sold it. Jerry Katana is upset and comes to you for advice. Advise Jerry Katana on legal. Advise Jerry Katana on legal what? On legal position. On legal position. Hiyo swali sio ya sale. Hiyo swali ni ya contract, but it brings under the sale because it involves sale contract. It involves sale contract. It involves contract. Yes. What is the legal principle there? What's the legal principle? This one in your contracts, and it is deal with part of the element of a contract. So what will you say? Hey, watu wa contract, by the way, swali ya contract niliuliza watu wameanguka. Swali ya contract niliuliza watu wameanguka. Sijui nini mbaya. Tuko mbio sana ama? Yes? Ama mjaanza kurevise? Hata sale of good ni mtu mmoja amepata hiyo swali kwa wale wamefanya hiyo kati. Hata sale of good nimeuliza hapo swali, element of sales. Mtu mmoja ndiye amepata hiyo swali, lakini hao wengine Yes. What is that need? That legal principle applicable there is offer, counter offer. Counter offer. Can you give me type of offer? Tuanzie huko nyuma. Type of offer. Number one. Number one is counter offer. Number two. Yes. Number two type of offer. Yes. Cross offer. Number three. Sitakwambia explain, we taja tu tuendelee mbele. Number three. Yes. Single offer. Then another one. Yes. Yes. Yeah, condition. All those condition or standing offer. So here was counter offer, okay? Here was counter offer. So how can you advise Jerry? Since you know it is a counter offer, how can you advise Jerry? What happened to counter offer? You say counter offer is one of the elements in which a contract can be terminated. So he should not sue Katana for refusing to sell him the car. He should do what? He should go and buy another car from somewhere else. Is that okay? Yeah, that was the advice. Then, question B, explain the meaning of the following term. Tukona first na tukona fob. Tukona first na tukona fob. Yes, what are they? What are they? Atuongei. What are they? Hivi vitu niliwapatia kwa hiyo class mkaelewa vizuri. Mpaka nikadefine. Nikatenga. I said there is 4 categories. We have category E, we have category F, we have category C, and we have category D. Okay? So category F, we say they are unpaid, unpaid delivery, whereby they start all with free along the ship and free on board, free along the ship and free on board. They are unpaid delivery. So let's go on. Another question you are told, Ken Jembe advertised the sale of his farm. He was approached by Peter Polea, who wanted to buy the farm. In the course of negotiating the price, Peter Polea asked Ken Jembe how many sheep could be reared on the farm. Ken Jembe replied, I have not used the farm for sheep rearing, but I think it could support 2,000 sheep. Peter Polea bought the farm and immediately purchased 2,000 to rear on it. However, the farm was unable to accommodate the sheep, and Peter Polea is aggrieved. He intends to sue Ken Jembe. Advise Peter Polea. Yes? Tasema nini? Yes? What are the legal principles applicable there? What are the legal principles? Ndio nawaambia wale watu wana hii kitabu, tafadhali. Kuna maswali kama hizo hapa, more than 10 questions of such kind, okay? Kuna maswali kama hizo hapa ndani, more than 10 questions of such kind. Ukifanya hizo, ukipata tu swali yote utakuwa unajua hii imetoka tropiki gani na hii imetoka wapi. So kama hujanunua hii kitabu, jaribu inunue mapema. Hii mwezi imebaki hii uitumie. Lakini usingoje dakika ya mwisho ndio unakimbia kusema tunataka revision kit. Haitakusaidia. Itakuwa tu kama notes zenye umeandika from September to December. Itakuwa tu kama notes. Utakuwa unafunua hapo unasema hapa sijasoma. So it is better upate mapema, uanze kuianalyze mapema. Ujue hii inatoka topic gani, hii inatoka topic gani. So kama hiyo swali inatoka topic gani? Yeah, it involves cell. Walieka kwa cell because it involves cell. But then inatoka topic gani? Law of sio tort offer. It is offer under the contract. Under the contract, okay? Yeah, it is under the contracts. Rule of the contract number 10. Rule of the contract number 10. Rule of the offer of the contract number 10. Ulisema nini? Rule of the offer number 10. Ulisema nini? Unaweza kumbuka? Kituliandika. Yeah, the offer must differentiate itself from a mere supply of information. Tukasema a mere advertisement and then invitation to treat. Invitation to treat. So here he was just supplying the information. Here he was just supplying information for the sake of selling the land. Okay. So Mr. Peter cannot sue Mr. Kijembe because he could not, because he relied on the information, and the information was just a mere supply of information. It was not an offer that he was assuring him. Yeah, that's how you are supposed to take there to get that 10 marks. Then another question. Agnes Pure, hiyo inatoka May 2017 question 6A. May 2017 question 6A. Nasema Agnes Pure purchased a sewing machine from High Hope Limited under hire purchase agreement. High Hope Limited did not disclose to Agnes Pure that the sewing machine was being let on second-hand basis as it had been repossessed from another hirer. Agnes Pure took possession of the sewing machine, but on reaching home, she realized that it was not in working condition. When Agnes Pure read the term of the hire purchase again, she discovered that the High Hope Limited had exempted themselves from any liability whatsoever. Analyze the legal principle applicable in the above case and advise Agnes Pure who intend to sue the High Hope. So atalai kwa what? Under hire purchase tumesoma saa hii, usianze kufunua kitabu ni kama kitu ya kitambo. Tumetoma tu saa hii hata masaa 2, hata 30 minutes zijaisha. So atalai to what? Yes? You will lie to which principle in hire purchase? Yeah? It is protection of the hirer. Protection of the hirer. Protection of the hirer. So protection of the hirer to 3 ways. The Hire Purchase Act protects the Hire Purchase Act protect the hirer. Number one is, yes, Matilda. Number 1, content of the hire purchase agreement. Content of the hire purchase agreement which is void. Provision content, okay? Number 2, implied terms. And number 3, repossession. So hapa tuweze ongea mambo ya repossession, okay? We can talk of those 2 implied terms, okay? Yeah, there is implied term that the good let and the hire purchase should be of mechanized quality, and then should fit the description, fulfill the description, and also should fit the purpose. Again, there is also a provision in car purchase content that the owner cannot do what? Cannot relieve himself from liability on the good let under hire purchase, okay? So you can advise the Agnes Pendo to do what? To sue. Can advise Agnes Pendo to sue. Can advise Agnes Pendo to sue. Fikiria masaa imeisha. Ukibaki na hiyo kidogo itakusaidia. So on Friday, wale wajafanya cut, tafadhali kujia ufanye cut. Then online student, nilikuchua na ngojea musubmit hiyo cut yenyu online, basi jaona mtu yoyote. But it's good, utamark tukifanya revision. So hiyo cut I revise on Friday. Na kama hujafanya, hautakaa kwa class, utangojea tumalize kurevise alafu ukuje. Sawa? Lea yako iko wapi? Remember you took full